Shri Guru Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Bolo. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvisesa Shunyavadi Paschyacham Deshatadine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvisesa Shunyavadi Paschyachadi Shatai Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Bolo. Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Patitanam Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hina Jane. Gauranga Karuna Koro Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hina Jane. Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hina Jane. Mosamo Patita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvane. Mosamo Patita Prabhu Mosamo Patita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvane. Samopatita Prabhu Dante China Dori Gora Daki He Tomara Dante China Dori Gora Daki He Tomara Kripa Kodi Esho Amar Hridaya Mandire Kripa Kodi Esho Amar Hridaya Mandire Bolo Bolo Gauranga Karuna Koro Samopatita Prabhu Jadidoya Nakoribe Patita Dekiya Jadidoya Nakoribe Patita Dekiya Jadidoya Nakoribe Patita Dekiya Patita Pavana Nama Kishera Lagiya Patita Pavana Nama Kishera Lagiya Patita Pavana Nama Kishera Lagiya Karuna Koro Purichi Bhava Tufane Nahi Kanistara Purichi Bhava Tufane Nahi Kanistara Purichi Bhava Tufane Nahi Kanistara Sucharana Tarani Dane Dase Korupara Sricharana Charani Dane Dase Koro Para Bolo bolo Gauranga Karuna Koro Medina Hina Jane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasiranu Dasa Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasiranu Dasa Prajna Koro Ye Sada Narottama Dasa Prajna Koro Ye Sada Narottama Dasa Bolo bolo Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hina Jane One more time, a little louder, please. Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hina Jane Mosaho Pachita Prabhu Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Gauranga Karuna Koro Ami Dina Hina Jane Gauranga Karuna Koro Ami Dina Hina Jane Samo Patita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvane Samo Patita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvane Nahi Tribhuvane Nahi Tribhuvane Nahi Tribhuvane Gora hey, 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 Gora hey. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Prabhupada Nitai Gora Haribo 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 Gora Haribo Shri Guru Nitai Gaur Premanande Srila Prabhupada Ki Shri Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Shri Prem Data Nityananda Prabhu Ki Shri Prem Purushottam Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Bolo Giriraj Maharaj Ki Shishi Radha Madan Mohan Juke, Shishi Prahlad Nrsimha Bhagavan Ki, Shri Prem Purushottam Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ke, Bolo Giriraj Man, Shri ISKCON. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapi 17:18. Can you just tell him that? 17:18. Bhagavad Gita. Swayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Chaitanya Devam Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya So, reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, text number 18. Please repeat. Satkara manapujartam Satkara manapujartam Tapodambena chaiva yat Tapodambena chaiva yat Kriyate tad iha proktam Kriyate tad iha proktam Rajasam chalam adruvam Rajasam chalam adruvam Satkara respect Mana honor Puja and worship Artam for the sake of Tapa austerity Dambena with pride Cha also Eva certainly Yat which Kriyate is performed Tat where did I go? That Iha in this world Proktam is said Rajasam in the mode of passion chalam, flickering, adhruvam, temporary. Translation: penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent. Please repeat. Penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Sometimes penance and austerity are executed to attract people and receive honor, respect, and worship from others. Persons in the mode of passion arrange to be worshipped by subordinates and let them wash their feet and offer riches. Such arrangements, artificially made by the performance of penances, are considered to be in the mode of passion. The results are temporary. They can be continued for some time, but they're not permanent. Gora graganya gana gotra golaruharam Goranga gura tamago pyada kolpa briksham Gopala gada ratidam yati singha gora Govinda deshi kavaram satatam namami. So we'd like to say something today about what we titled the ecstasy of insignificance. It's a phrase I'm borrowing from Vishaka Mataji, Prabhupada's disciple. She also called it the happiness to reality. And this verse is a very nice verse. We see that pretty much everyone in the material world behaves in this way. And sometimes they're doing some penance and austerities. They're working very, very hard. But what is their purpose in doing that? Because they want to attract people to themselves, so they can get some honor, some respect, and some worship. And pretty much everyone in the world today thinks this is the goal of life. To be appreciated by everybody. This is what everyone is thinking in America. And I can tell you with great confidence, we travel a lot all over the world, and nobody has achieved these things in the way people in America have done. But still, why is it that they say that something like 1 out of 5 people in America, they're going to see psychiatrists? They're full of anxiety. Why is it that the second most common cause of death amongst teenagers is suicide? If people are successful about this. Why is it that we crave? Why is it we want to be known? Why do we want to be so famous and honored? Why do we consider that to be significant? It's an innate need in everyone. People want to be respected. Why is that? Because we're part and parcel of Krishna. And Krishna deserves respect. And because we're part and parcel of Krishna, we have a little something from Krishna. But our inherent nature is to be insignificant. And therefore we sing this song, Goranga Kuruna Kor, Ami Dina Hina Jani. Most people, if you were to sing this song, or tell them about it, especially in the corporate world, here in the Bay, it's not a very, as we sometimes comment, if you're going for a job interview, it's probably not the best thing to quote. They ask you, what is your qualification? You say, well, to tell you the truth, I'm the most useless person in the whole world. Right? Probably not a good idea, right? Because it's exactly the total opposite. Everyone is striving to assert themselves and establish, don't you know who I am? I'm a very important person. You should give respect to me. And this is why we dress the way we do, We either dress in a very opulent, flamboyant way, so people look at us and say, wow, he must be someone important. So he dresses in such a flamboyant, opulent way. Or we dress in a very simple way, because we're wanting people to look at us and say, just see how humble and simple that person is. They're so great. They're so simple. Yes. This is the motivation which is guiding everybody in this world. And this is the nature of the mode of passion. People are trying to arrange for their subordinates, as Prabhupada says in the purport, they're arranging for the subordinates to worship them, whether you're the boss of a company, whether you're the CEO, whether you're the President of the United States, whether you're the husband of the family, you're the father. But Dad, why do I have to do that? Because I'm the father. That's why. Right? And we say like that. Because I'm a person which should be given respect. We want that respect. But we don't actually know what real respect is. Srila Prabhupada, he describes in purport to Bhagavad Gita 1854, he says the highest personality in this material universe is no more significant than an ant for a devotee. And we see this in the case of Maharaj Rantidev. He's a very, very austere person. He was fasting for so many days. And just as he's ready to break his fast after 40 days and maintain his life and the life of his family who are also fasting, at that time, some Brahmin came and said, would you give me some charity? Yes. So he gave him half his food. And then he's about to take again. And then a very low-class man came with some dogs. And Rantidev offered obeisances to him also. And said, here, you take some food. He had a little bit of water left. The man, my dogs also, they're thirsty. Yes, yes, give some water to the dogs. And he offered obeisances to the dogs. And then the demigods came there. He said, actually, we took the forms of these personalities to test you. And Rantidev was no more impressed with the demigods than he was with the dogs. He saw them all equally. Because a devotee sees everything in connection with Krishna. In the material world, the happiness that we're looking for is to be on top of everything and to get respect from everyone. But in spiritual life, it's just diametrically the opposite. And this is the ecstasy of insignificance. That we can actually get more happiness by being insignificant. But it's a very, very difficult thing to try to understand. Prabhupada writes in a purport, in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, chapter 2, text 14. He says, any man from any social status becomes a well-known man in human society within a very short time if he's simply glorified, truly or falsely, in the daily newspapers. If I can just get everybody to write something about me in the newspaper, if I can just, sometimes you see the television cameras downtown or something, they're doing some interview and you see some people going by, like this, right? If I can just get my face on television, then life will be perfect. Sometimes political leaders of a particular party are also advertised by newspaper propaganda, and by such a method of glorification, an insignificant man becomes an important man within no time. But such propaganda by false glorification of an unqualified person cannot bring about any good, either for the particular man or for the society. There may be some temporary reactions to such propaganda, but there are no permanent effects. There may be some temporary reactions to such propaganda, but there's no permanent effects. It's not going to last in the long run. Therefore, Prabhupada says, such activities are a waste of time. We should learn the art of happiness through reality, understanding who we are. We're trying to get some happiness by living in a dream, and it doesn't work. by trying to be something that we're not. And spiritual life, first and foremost, is all about understanding who I am. And whereas in material life, we're taught to push ourselves forward and act with lots of confidence, even if you don't have confidence. I took public speaking quite a bit when I was a young man. And that's one of the first things they teach you about public speaking, isn't it, Kuranath? Even if you're terrified. You think, oh my God, I'm speaking in front of a Kuranath Prabhu and so many persons. Even if you're terrified, you just act very confident, like everything's okay. And this is what people do in the world. I heard that they did a survey in America, and they found, seriously, that people are more afraid of speaking in public than they are of dying. Speaking in public is a very, very fearful thing. So when someone has to speak in public, then you just act like everything's okay. And this is the same mode that we take in our lives. Everything's okay. I'm just going to assure myself of this over and over again, even though everything's falling apart. And we can't really find real happiness because we're not living in reality. How can you be happy if you're not rightly situated? This is taught to us by the Acharya of the Holy Name, Haridas Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He describes in Harinam Chintamani the words of Haridas Thakur at Siddhabakul in Jagannath Puri. Amita Adama Tumi Adama Taran Ubhaye Sambandhe Patita Parvan. Bolo Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Haridas Thakur is teaching us something very, very different from what all the successful CEOs and business people in this world are telling us. He's telling us if you want success in the chanting of the holy name, this should be your attitude. Amita Adama. I'm fallen. That's who I am. And he said, and I know who you are, Krishna. Tumi Adama Tarana. You're the deliverer of the fallen. Ubaye Sambandhe. This is my connection with you by being fallen. As we were mentioning, I think yesterday, my Guru Maharaj used to say, this is your only qualification, your disqualification. Our honesty is our only qualification. And Jiva Goswami, in his book Bhakti Sandarbha, he says there's two types of bhakti, Sakaitava and Akaitava, two types of devotion. And we see this kind of same principle throughout all different world religions. Devotion, which is simple and which is honest, and devotion, which is false and pretentious. And he says that unless we can come to the point of admitting who we are and looking back and seeing our past, and this is also very relevant for devotees in the Hare Krishna movement. I know for myself, when I joined in this movement, many of the devotees, family was Maya, and your parents were Maya. And you don't look back at all that. You don't talk about all that. Because sometimes we're just trying to impress everybody that I'm a great devotee. And if you talk about where you came from and the things that you were doing before you were a devotee, they're not going to give me the Maha plate. If I do that, they're not going to give me any respect. Probably they'll tell me I should leave. If I tell them what I was doing, at least they're going to run a health check on myself and and everybody in the ashram, because it was so very, very bad where I came from. But if we don't understand where we came from, then how can we understand who we are? And this is what we learned from Haridas Thakur. According to our acharyas and Shastra, it said that Chaturvedi, Chaturmukha, Kala Brahma, what's the verse? Chaturmukho Jagat Karta, Chaturveda Parayana Haridasa Kalo Jata Brahmanam Tvam Namamyaham. That person who in his previous life was Lord Brahma has now come as Haridas Thakur. And as we often like to come, and as Lord Brahma, he's Pitamaha, he's the grandfather of everything, he's Jagat Karta, he's the creator of the universe, he's a very, very important person. But he comes as Haridas Thakur, born in a Muslim family. And why did he come like that? Because he made a great mistake. He became proud as Lord Brahma. He didn't recognize Krishna or the position of Krishna's devotees. And he kidnapped them. He took the boys away and the calves away. And then Krishna humbled him a little bit. Krishna took the form of all those boys and calves and showed Lord Brahma that each one of those boys and calves had been replaced, and now they were Vishnu forms. Lord Brahma became humble. And he prayed for forgiveness, and Krishna said, that's okay. Then Lord Brahma said, no, it's not enough. For me to give up this false ego, this problem that I have of trying to be something that I'm really not, trying to be happy in this world by acting like I'm the best person, I should become the worst person. I should take away all the reasons for false prestige that I have. And let me take birth in a very low-caste family, in a Muslim family, which in Vedic culture and Hindu culture is like the worst. And so he did. And that same personality, who was Lord Brahma, became Haridas Thakur. Lord Brahma established the deities of Jagannath, Baladi, Subhadra, and Puri. But that same personality has now come as Haridas Thakur to Puri in a Muslim body. And he can't go inside the Jagannath Mandir. And he doesn't complain. He could say, hey, don't you know who I am? I'm the one who installed the deities. And then moreover than that, I'm the Namacharya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, I'm tight like this with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He didn't do that. He could have used his position. He could have used the respect that everyone was giving to him for his own self-aggrandizement. But he didn't do that. And by that, he taught us how we should behave, how we should achieve success in the chanting of the holy name. It's a very, very deep thing. In the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is one of my favorite chapters. Most people just pass over it. But Baladi Vidyabhushan has titled that chapter Vishad Yoga. Vishad means lamentation or unhappiness. But it's a compound word. Ada means to accept. And Bish means poison. So what it means is the yoga, or the way to connect with God, through accepting poison, or through accepting lamentation. Or in this case, happiness through reality. Arjuna, his path was to accept, I'm attached. I don't know how to solve my problem. I have this poison. My life is miserable. I feel like committing suicide. That's the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He wants to put all of his weapons down. It's such a very appropriate chapter. I think it's the most appropriate chapter in the Gita for myself and for so many people, because the things that Arjuna's dealing with are realities that so many of us have to deal with. Depression, heavy depression, desires for suicide, wondering, why am I here anymore? And feeling like I just can't continue. I can't go on with this anymore. I can't go on with this show anymore. I've been doing this, and it just doesn't make any sense. Because when we choose the path of glory and fame and wanting to push ourselves forward, we're going to find there's nothing of substance there. And sooner or later, we're going to fall from that position. And it's going to cause great, great depression in ourselves. So when we accept that, when we embrace our fallen position, we accept out of that bish, that poison, that I am fallen. When we accept that position, then that's our qualification in spiritual life. There's a story some of you may have heard. We tell sometimes that Dronacharya, the great Brahmin who taught the Kauravas and the Pandavas the art of warfare, on one occasion he went to Duryodhan, and he told Duryodhan, look, I've taught you for so many years. Now I want some guru dakshina. I want some payment for my teaching that I've given you. Duryodhan said, yes, Guru Maharaj, what do you want? He said, simple thing. I just want you to go out and find one person, just one person, who's better, who's better than you? And Duryodhana said, yes, Guru Maharaj. He left. And he called for Yudhishthira. And he said, Yudhishthira, I've been teaching you so long. Now I want some dakshina from you. Yes, Guru Maharaj, what is it? I want you to go out and find one person, just one, who's actually lower than you. Yes, Guru Maharaj. They were both gone for a long time. And finally, Yudhishthira returned, and he was holding his head down. He said, Guru Maharaj, I'm sorry, but I failed. I wanted to please you, but I went all over the world, and I couldn't find anyone who's more fallen than myself. Dronacharya said, okay. And then Duryodhana came in, and Duryodhana looked really annoyed. He said, Guru Maharaj, you gave me such a hard job. I went all over the world. I looked everywhere. I couldn't find even one person who's better than me. And then Dronacharya, he told Duryodhana, he said, Duryodhana, your search is over. Here's one person better than you, Yudhishthira. And he said, and Yudhishthira, your search is also over. Here's one person who's really worse than you, Duryodhana. So, in this way, we understand that real spiritual life means that we need to give up this illusion that we're living in and achieve happiness and peace through reality, through accepting where I am and who I am. And this means even in social ways in our lives, that we don't try to disconnect from our parents, deny our parents. I don't want to talk about them because they weren't vegetarian. Or this or that. They're my parents. They gave birth to me. How can I deny them? And if I deny them, then I'm denying that part of myself. I'm living in an illusion. I'm trying to act like, oh, I didn't deserve that birth. I'm such a great person. Somehow, by God's arrangement, I took birth there, but actually I didn't deserve that. It's complete illusion. And there's no happiness there. So we need to learn the art of living in reality, of understanding who we are and why we're here, and give up this pursuit of this ethereal fame and prestige, which everyone is looking for constantly. Srila Prabhupada makes a nice statement in Nectar of Devotion. He says, anyone who has any desire or aspiration for satisfying his senses by becoming more and more important, either in the material sense or in the spiritual sense, not just in the material sense, but also in the spiritual sense, such a person cannot actually relish the really sweet taste of devotional service. They can't relish it. Until we come to that point of feeling like I'm really, really useless. Just the exact opposite of what everyone is telling us, what all the ads are telling us, what all the teachers are telling us, what everyone through their behavior, through their dress, through all their actions in the world are trying to show us. Everyone is striving to become the most important, most famous, most appreciated person. But Prabhupada's telling us here that if we have any aspiration, any desire for that, then we won't be able to actually relish the sweet taste of devotional service, of bhakti. We may be able to get some other thing. As we were commenting earlier today about the sixth canto of the Bhagavatam, chapters 14 to 17, about the story of Chitraketu and Vitrasura, and how there's a lesson there. That Vitrasura was a demon. But although he's a demon, he's greater than the king of the Devatas, Indra, who's the most religious person. So the lesson there is that sometimes we strive to become religious. We try to use, as Prabhupada's saying here in the purport, in the material sense or in the spiritual sense, we're striving to become, satisfying our senses, becoming more and more important, because we're striving that we don't actually get any real happiness. And because we don't have any real happiness, then we have to satisfy ourselves. In other ways, we're apurna. as this Upanishad describes the Lord, is Purna. We're apurna. We're dissatisfied. And because we're dissatisfied, we're always trying to get something more. More and more and more. More cars, more gadgets, more devices, a bigger house, maybe another house, maybe 2 or 3 more houses, maybe another girlfriend, maybe another wife. In so many different ways, we're trying to get more and more things to satisfy ourselves, but we don't get any satisfaction with it. Rather, we just become more and more depressed. And it's very interesting that people who don't have, rather people do have this aspiration for becoming famous, for becoming a very big person, they can't taste the sweet nature of bhakti, of devotion. And what happens is they become religionists. They just have a mechanical, external path that they follow, and they try to impress everyone with that. And they use it. They use that religion. They use the dress. They use the language. They use the practices. Once I went to one temple, I'll tell you a very strong story. I went to one temple in Italy. And the devotees were very nice. They welcomed us there with a big kirtan and group. About, 20 devotees. They took us into the temple. The temple was about maybe 6 times bigger than this, a temple room. And there's about 20 devotees there. And they apologized to me. They said, we're really sorry. It used to be packed. There were so many devotees here. But now they're not coming. And it was the first time I'd been there. But I asked them, I said, well, why do you think they're not coming? Isn't Krishna Katha a nice thing? To hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and have Krishna Katha, isn't that nice? Why aren't they coming? I asked them that question. And they weren't expecting me to ask them like that. And they were giving different answers. And some were saying, well, somebody said, because they're in Maya. Mm-hmm. They're just proud. They're materially attached. And that's why they're not coming anymore. And I wouldn't accept it. I said, no, I don't think that's the reason. And they gave different reasons. But nobody satisfied me. Finally, they said, I'll tell you why I think they're not coming anymore. Because you used Krishna Katha in the wrong way. Because you used Krishna Katha to try to control people, to try to get money out of them. You use it in a religious kind of sense. And we see this in churches, in religious institutions all over the world, where their founders of their movement have very good intentions. But later on, people, they use those spiritual principles to try to gain fame for themselves and to gain money. They use it to try to control people. And when we do that, it becomes mechanical and there's no happiness. The person who's speaking like it doesn't really have any happiness. And the persons who are listening, they're also not happy. And after some time, they think, why am I coming here? I'd rather watch television. It's more interesting than going there. It's probably more beneficial for me than doing that. So we have to keep this in mind. It's a very, very deep principle Krishna is offering in the Bhagavad Gita about what is real religion. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's told us, and he's sung in his songs in Kolina Kalpataru, he's described that if I think that I'm a religious person, if I think that I'm a devotee, then everything's finished. You can chant Hare Krishna in response. Hare He Amito Vaishnava E Buddhi Hoile Amani Nahobo Ami Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Pratistasa asi hridoya dusibe hoibo niraya gami. Bolo. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Hare. He says that Amita Vaishnava, Eburi Hoile. If this attitude comes that I'm a devotee, I'm a priest, I'm an imam, I'm a rabbi. I'm a person you should give respect to because I'm practicing spiritual life. It's not just our problem in this movement, but it goes on everywhere where people are practicing spiritual life because people are looking for saints. People want to respect genuine saintly persons. But if I try to act like that just so I can get some cheap adoration, respect from others, then Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Ebudi Hoili, if this mentality comes, Amani Nahobu Ami, then the problem will be I can't give respect to everyone. Because someone is genuinely on the spiritual path, they give respect to everyone. Chanadapi Sanichena, Todoreva Sahishnana, Amani Namanadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. This is the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that we should learn to give respect to everyone. This is the nature of a Vaishnav. They want to give respect to everyone. They see that everyone else is a devotee. But a religionist, they'll say, oh, you're a Christian. What kind of Christian are you? I remember when I was a young boy, I was born in southern Illinois, and I grew up in a Christian family. And when my family changed, they were Baptists and they became Methodists, right? I can't even tell you what the difference between a Baptist and a Methodist is. Or Karanath Prabhu, maybe you could, he's a learned person, but not so many people can. How many people here could tell us what the difference is between a Baptist and a Methodist? Raise your hand. Very subtle thing. When we became Methodists, my grandmother cried for days. She said, you're all going to hell. And we can't even tell the difference between a Methodist or a Baptist. Huh? So this is a nature of the pride in religion. We want to have just some external designation, some external type of respect. We can't give respect to everyone. But intuitively we know something. In this country, America, actually has some very good principles. Maybe they're not the most spiritual all the time, but they have some good principles. The Declaration of Independence we were taught when I was a young boy. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Self-evident, it must be an obvious thing, right? All men, I think they mean women also, all men are created equal. They hold that as an axiomatic truth. But think about that for a minute. Everybody accepts that, isn't it? Is there anybody here who doesn't accept that? That everybody's created equal? But how is it true? In this assembly, we have maybe, 50 people in the room today, more or less. Is everyone equal here? Is everyone equal in terms of age? No. We have some people who are old and a little envious of the younger people. We have, are we equal in terms of beauty? No. We have some beautiful ladies, we have older ladies, we have handsome young men, older men. Is everyone equal in strength? Is everyone equal in money? Is everyone equal in education? We're not equal in anything. But we all hold this truth, this to be an axiomatic principle, a self-evident principle, that we're all created equal. How is it? It's a good principle. But the problem is they didn't scratch a little bit deeper to understand. Because the answer is spiritually. And unless we understand that spiritually, then we can't really see anything. And even if you try to do something religious, in God we trust, in our God, not your God. In God we trust. Then if we start making divisions amongst people, that's not really spiritual life. Because God is there for everyone. Srila Prabhupada wrote a wonderful letter to the Governor General of Canada in 1968, I often like to cite. And Prabhupada wrote, he described what ISKCON was to the Governor General. He said, ISKCON is a non-lucrative, I like that phrase, a non-lucrative, non-sectarian organization. He said, whose members come from Christian, Hindu, Muslim backgrounds. And he said that each of these different persons can keep their respective religions and still be a member of ISKCON. Such a beautiful thing, isn't it? This was Srila Prabhupada's concept. Many times people, they want to have some kind of universal religion which is open for everyone, but it never really works. But Prabhupada's method can work. And I've seen this. I'll give you a couple quick examples. When we were going to Uzbekistan, we were going for some years before the government banned us. They don't like Hare Krishna preachers coming in very much. But we managed to go for a few years. And it was a very interesting country. It's a predominantly Muslim country, although it's supposed to be a secular government. And there's one legal temple in the whole country. And that's all. It's illegal to walk around in a dhoti or a sari. They may put you in jail. Except for Mahendra Prabhu, the temple president. He's the only person who can do that. But he doesn't do it because the police don't know, and he's going to get a big hassle. It's illegal to keep Srila Prabhupada's books in your home. You can read the books at the temple, but you're not allowed to keep them in your home. And sometimes the police, they break into people's houses, and if they find Prabhupada's books, they confiscate the books or other Krishna-conscious books. A very heavy place. But we saw at the temple programs, some of the ladies who are coming, there's one lady who's coming, she's wearing a burqa. I'd never seen a lady wearing a burqa before, coming to the Hare Krishna temple. I live in Jagannath Puri, and you don't see like that. It was very charming to my heart. I came to find out that lady, she comes every week, and she does her namaz 3 times a day, and she's also chants 16 rounds. And she wears her burqa. She can't give that up. Because if you give that up in that culture, they'll kill you. Similarly, in Kiev, there's in Ukraine, in Russia and Ukraine, they don't get along very well these days, isn't it? In Russia, they have the Russian Orthodox Church, who more or less are controlling a lot of things. And in Ukraine, they have the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. I can't tell you what the difference is between the two, but they really don't like each other. Kind of like the Baptists and the Methodists, maybe, I don't know. So both the Russian Orthodox Church and the Ukrainian Orthodox Church also don't like the Hare Krishnas very much. And they give them a hard time. So the devotees in Kiev and Ukraine, they were doing Harinam one day on the street. And there was some Ukrainian Orthodox priest standing and watching the party. And he looked kind of bewildered, maybe a little interested. I think you've seen that kind of look before, right? Somebody's watching the Harinam. So one of the devotees just went over to him after a little bit and said, "Hey, would you like a book?" And he was thinking, boy, this guy's going to probably punch me in the face or something. But to his surprise and happiness, the priest said, "Oh, okay." Took the book. A few days later, he came to the temple. He said, I've been reading this. I have some questions. And he started coming with his questions, and then he started coming to the kirtans. And he would always wear his Ukrainian Orthodox robes when he came to the temple. And he started coming regularly, like for a long period of time. Eventually, he got initiated. He was chanting 16 rounds. He was still doing Mass on a regular basis in his Ukrainian Orthodox robes. And when he came to the temple, he was dressed like that. And this went on for some time. And after a while, he started getting some pain in some part of his body. He went to the doctor for some tests. They said, "I have some bad news for you. You have terminal cancer, stage 4 cancer. You only have a few weeks to live." So what did he do? He went to the temple. And he asked the devotees, "Can I stay here?" And he stayed there, and the devotees were doing kirtan around him when he left his body. And I don't know, maybe he still had his Ukrainian Orthodox robes on. But who cares, right? Our movement's not just about dress. It's not just about external things. Similarly, in this last year, we were in Sweden. And there's a wonderful devotee we met there, Prahlad Prabhu. Very, very effulgent. He's a school teacher. He told me that in his family, for like the last 10 generations or something, every single person had either become a priest or a school teacher. A very Brahminical family. And he was a Gurukuli. He said, "My mother made me a devotee." I said, "Really? Well, how did she find out about the devotion?" And I came to find out she was an Episcopalian priest, and she still is. And she found out about Krishna consciousness. She started chanting 16 rounds, following 4 principles, and she preached to her son, and he became a devotee. She never got initiated. She's still alive today. She still does sermons and whatever, and the bishops and whatever in her church, they get very annoyed with her because she gives sermons and she preaches to people about reincarnation from the Bible and vegetarianism and things like that. But she has her Episcopalian robes that she wears, and no one knows this other, well, some people may know, but she doesn't chant Hare Krishna or anything in public. I recently found out about another person who's very interesting on the East Coast in America, who is a Baptist minister. And he has a whole congregation in his church, and he has a dilemma in his life. Now, he started reading Prabhupada's books a few years ago, and he started practicing, and now he's not sure. Should I get initiated? Or should I not? If I get initiated, I may be a big problem in my life. Personally, I don't think he should have to. Prabhupada told George Harrison, he said, you don't get initiated. You can do more outside. You be the person that you are. So this is our movement. And our movement, Srila Prabhupada didn't push that devotees just have some position and fame by dress or by their external background, but rather he said, you can keep that. If you're born in a Muslim family, fine. Haridas Thakur, he's the most important person in our movement practically. He's the acharya for our movement. He's a namacharya. And he never denied, I was born in a Muslim family. He embraced that. That's Bishad Yoga. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur he sings in this song that Amito Vaishnava e Buddhi Hoili Amani Nahobo Ami. That if I have this attitude that I'm a devotee of God, that I'm a great religionist, then I won't really be able to give respect to everyone. And we don't need that. You know, I saw some surveys that they've done in America. Well, let me just ask you all a question. Okay? Honest, simple question. How many of you, before you joined ISKCON, I don't know if you joined, whatever, but before you started practicing Krishna consciousness, how many of you, just honestly, really liked organized religion? Raise your hand. Now look around. Nobody. Now, for those of you who've come to the Krishna consciousness movement, whatever that means, I'd like to know how many of you joined because, damn, you just really liked the way the devotees did management. Raise your hand. It's a really, really important point. In America, people don't want organized religion. They think it's a very, very obnoxious, nasty thing. And why is it? People like organized things. People like spiritual life. Is it bad to have organized spiritual life? Isn't that better than disorganized spiritual life? But people intuitively, they don't like organized religion in this country. Why? I would suggest because they see that so many wars have come about in the name of religion. And so much competition, so much envy, so much hatred, so much judging of other people. You're good because you're a Baptist. You're bad because you're a Methodist. You're good because you're a Sri Vaishnav. You're bad because you're a Gaudiya Vaishnav, or vice versa. Or you're good because you're an ISKCON devotee. You're bad because you're a Gaudiya Vaishnav in some other group. People shy away from that kind of thing. So Srila Prabhupada's movement, the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is meant to teach people how to be happy through reality, not through just making some walls. We don't need more walls. We need to understand how I can appreciate with other people. We need to learn how to tear down walls. We need to learn how we can unite this whole world together. Because people won't go away. You might be, I see in America today, there's a great controversy between liberals and conservatives. You might call yourself a conservative, and sometimes the conservatives hate the liberals, and they say, you guys should all go to Canada, or just die. And the liberals also, they hate the conservatives. They say, you guys, you should die, or this or that. But reality is that both are going to exist. Reality is, if we want to cooperate together, we want to work in this world, we need some kind of vision that we can have which will unite people. But as long as the goal of everyone's life is to become the most important person, it's not going to work. Just like America, I think we have something like 2% of the world population, and we utilize something like 40% of the world resources. Figure that one out mathematically. It doesn't work. And then the foreign policy is to tell everybody else in all the other countries, you should be like us. The other 98% of the population, each one of you should also use 40% of the world resources. You don't have to be a math expert to figure out that's not going to work. Rather, we need to see some way that we can validate each other, we can appreciate each other. But that comes when we understand our own insignificant position. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says that pratistasa asi, as long as I am hankering for this pratista, for this fame of having some position, then hridoya dushibe, my heart becomes polluted. I can't give respect to everyone then, which is what religion really should be all about. We have so many businesses in the world. It's okay, there should be business. We have no problem with that. We have so many governments in the world. We also need government, no problem. But we also need some spiritual consciousness. Because spiritual consciousness gives us something that the businesses and the governments can't give. Because every government tells the people that our country is the best country. They need to do that. It's part of the propaganda that's needed to make people faithful citizens. And similarly, businesses have very cutthroat competition. Our business is the best business. Everyone wants to tell everyone like that. And it creates so much division amongst people. But what's needed is unity. And that unity comes through spiritual vision. But if your so-called spiritual vision is just, I'm a Methodist and you're a Catholic and I don't like you therefore, or I'm a Shaivite and you're a Vaishnav, I don't care for you, what's the value of that? In Vedic culture, people were appreciated not by the particular religion they had or by the dress they had, even more shallow, but by the qualities that they had. You might be a Shaivite, you might be a Muslim, no problem. We saw in India people were getting along just fine. The communities, the Hindus and the Muslims were getting along just fine until some of the British and other people came and made some agitation between them. Because the Hindu culture, at least, they didn't mind. Oh, you may be a Muslim, but you're a good person. That's fine. I'll work with you. I'll do something with you. Because they would judge people not by their external dress or affiliation, religion, but by the qualities that they had. So if we hanker for this pratista, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, this fame and position, if I'm using religion to try to make myself better than everybody else, which I'm sorry to say to my Christian friends in this country, it's a message that I don't feel bad giving because I do feel they're our friends. I'm sorry to say that part of the problem has become that so many Christians have used their religious life as a way to try to beat other people up and say, you're just a nasty person, you're going to hell, I don't like you, we're good and you're bad. And the reaction from the mass of peoples is that we hate all religion. And now I just want to become an atheist. So pratistasa asi, hridoya dusibe, hoye boy nirayagami. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, if I have this attitude that I want to have respect from everyone else, I want to achieve this through my religious practices, then I'm going to hell. He goes on. Hari he tomara kinkora apane janibo guru abhimana chaji. Bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram. Tomara uchista padajala renu sadaniska patibaji. Bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram. Rather, our attitude should be, Tomara Kinkora. I'm your servant, I'm your Kinkara. This is reality. I want to be a servant of God. This is living in reality, not in a false illusion, trying to be the biggest person in the world. Sometimes we see everyone wants to go to the movies and watch these guys with big, big muscles, with big, big guns, and they're invincible, right? They can shoot so many people and whatever. But you don't know, the guy who starred in that movie, a week after the movie was over, he died from a cold. Or he fell down some stairs and broke his neck and he died. Our bodies are so fragile, and every one of them have died. Every one of those big movie heroes, none of them have survived it. But still we have this hope that I'm going to be different. I'm going to be like that guy with the big gun and the big muscles. And I'm going to push myself forward in this way. But material nature is so brutal that we have old age. And we have disease. And we lose all those things. We lose our friends, we lose our position. And then, although we're trying to get some happiness by becoming big and famous and appreciated by everybody, the end result is just exactly the opposite. I become more and more miserable, more and more unhappy, because I spend my whole life trying to be Arnold Schwarzenegger with big, big muscles and the governor of California and so many things. But then, what's the value? When I get old and I have a heart operation, my body starts falling apart and I'm no longer so beautiful and whatever, and I'm going to die. We don't realize, we don't deal with reality. And how that happiness that we have here, it's not real happiness. Real happiness means tomara kinkora, that I want to be a servant of God. Apane janibo, this should be my attitude. Guru abhimana tyaji. I'm not going to try to be a big, big person. I don't want to be a guru. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said a very strong thing once. He said that it's necessary for people, for devotees to accept the position of spiritual master, of guru, to continue this movement. It's very important. He said, but there's a problem. As soon as you become a guru, you're no longer a Vaishnava. As soon as you have the attitude that I'm a guru, that I'm better than everybody else, you're not a Vaishnava anymore. And therefore we see Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he would offer obeisances to his disciples. Say, Dasoham. Prabhupada would also offer respect to them. A Vaishnava never thinks, I'm guru. He thinks, I'm doing this on behalf of my guru. But if we start having this abhiman, this attitude, yes, this is me, then how am I going to go on with my life? How am I going to make actual spiritual advancement? Rather, tomaru uchista parajalarenu sadaniskapati bhaji. He says that rather, I want to approach a genuine saint. And I want to, from that saint, tomaru uchista, you give me the remnants of your food. That's a very humbling thing. Give me the remnants of your food. Parajalarenu, give me the water that's washed your feet. Sada niskapati bhaji, and I'll worship you always with no kapatya, no duplicity. I'm not worshiping you because I'm thinking about my career in a religious institution and how I'm going to get famous, how I'm going to get some money or something. That's not real worship. That's not real relationship with anyone. So we should understand the happiness, the ecstasy of insignificance. The most insignificant person is a servant. But that's us. That's our nature. Our constitutional position is to be servants of God. And if someone becomes a servant of God, they become the greatest person. But in the material world, everyone is pushing themselves forward, trying to be something they're not. Again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings another song. Hari Hey, Garita Achare, Rohi Lama Moji, Nakorinu Sadhu Sangha. Bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Rama. Doi sadhu besha, ani upadeshi, e boro mayara ranga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. Even in spiritual life, he's saying, this is who I am. Garita achare. Achar means behavior. What is my behavior like? It's like a horror movie. It's really bad. Garita achari. Rohilama moji. Nakarino sadhu sangha. I never really associated with genuine saintly persons. I was just there looking for some position or something. Nakarino sadhu sangha. He said, but now what's happened? Loi sadhu vesh. Here I am. I am at ISV. Loi sadhu vesh. I'm dressed up as a sadhu. Ani upadesh. And I'm giving instructions to everybody. Yes. He says, Eboro Maya Ranga. This is Maya's big joke. This is illusion's big joke. That we are such an insignificant person, but we try to be something that we're not. And there's no happiness in that. There's just complete misery. Anyone who's taken martial arts, anyone who knows anything about holistic living, understands you have to find a center. You have to be balanced. You have to be who you are. And bhakti is the most holistic, the most centered existence. Because a devotee lives in reality and understands I'm going to die. I'm a very insignificant person. If Guru and Krishna, if God wants me to become an important person, he'll push me forward. But I'm not going to do it on my own. I don't need anything for myself. And this is the attitude of any genuine religious person. I'd like to read you a couple quotes. First is from one of my favorite persons. His name was Francis of Assisi. And this is from some of his prayers. Please listen. Blessed is the servant who does not consider himself any better when he's praised and exalted by people than when he's considered worthless, simple, and looked down upon. For what a person is before God, that he is and no more. Woe to that religious person who's been placed in a high position by others and who does not want to come down by his own will. Blessed is that servant who's not placed in a high position by his own will and always desired to be under the feet of others. This is real spiritual life. A devotee doesn't want a genuine spiritualist who's really in connection with God and not just some external religious thing. They want to be the servants of everyone. They want to be the lowest person. They don't want to push themselves forward. And we see this in the life of Francis. His father was the most wealthy cloth merchant in the city of Assisi. And Francis was a young man who was enjoying himself with ladies and drinking and so many things. But he had some change of heart at a certain point in his life. And one day he came home to his father's mansion and he started calling out to all the poor people, come, come. You don't have any proper dress. You're dressed in rags. It's very cold. And Francis started taking all the very valuable silk cloth and robes and things from his father's warehouse and throwing them out to all the poor people and giving to them. His father had a hard time understanding that. He became very, very disturbed and angry. And he took him to the authorities there. And I have this complaint. My son, he's being such a rascal. He's taking this cloth that belongs to me, and he's giving it to the poor people. What kind of nonsense is this? And in Francis, he told his father, he said, Father, you're attached to these clothes and things, then you can have them. And Francis took his clothes off. He said, here, you want them, you keep them. You're not my father anymore. My real father's God. And he walked out of the village without any clothes. And he went to the forest where he respected all the animals. And he lived with them in a very, very simple way. And he served the poor people and others because he didn't want to push himself forward. Rather, he wanted to be a servant of God. There's another, in the late 1800s, there was another Catholic saint named Gemma Galgini. When she was a young lady, she had one father who was directing her, was like her teacher. she expressed that she was telling him the kind of things she was praying for. And so he decided to test her humility. And so he told her, he said, why would Jesus want to dirty himself with a cesspit? You know what a cesspit is, right? Cesspit is you have a cesspool, a cess tank. That's where all your stool and urine and things go from your house. That's a cesspit. He said, why would Jesus want to dirty himself with a cesspit that's you? He told that to her, and then she's a little girl. It's a pretty rough thing to say to a kid. She became so happy when she heard that, and she smiled. Very good. And that became her prayer, her personal prayer to God. She started praying, my dear Lord, why do you want to dirty yourself with a filthy cesspit that's me? She started approaching the Lord in that way. This is happiness through reality. And many, many places in Gaudiya Vaishnava literature, we find descriptions like this. Rupa Goswami is described in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Matulyo nasti papatma, naparadi kadash, naparadi cha kaschana. Parihari pilajamekam bruvi Purushottama. Oh, my dear Purushottama, my dear Lord, there's nobody as sinful or offensive as I am. I'm so bad that I'm not even ashamed. I don't even have any shame to come and say what a bad person I am. This is happiness through insignificance. When we develop this kind of humility, where we can embrace our fallen position, then real happiness comes. But so many people in the material world, when they become a wife beater, become a very angry person, and he beat his wife, he beats his children, he's a very bad person, then what does he do? He also becomes a drunkard. Because he can't face what he is. He can't deal with the reality. I'm a bad person. And so to escape that, people turn to alcohol or drugs, or they turn to suicide. They can't recognize, they can't face who they are, what they are. But it's okay, be what we are. You may be the worst criminal. You may be the most sinful person in the world. Very good. But let me admit that and use that to cry out to the Lord. And there's happiness in that reality. I'll finish with one story that I heard, a historic story. At Radhakund, they say that there's one man who came from Bengal, was a very educated person from a wealthy family. And he came there, he retired from his family life, and he decided, I want to practice spiritual life, so I'm going to come to Radhakund. And he was staying at Radhakund for some time, and he saw one very advanced Mahatma, Vaishnava there. And so he approached him, Maharaj, please accept me as your disciple. But this Mahatma looked at him, and he could see this fellow is really very proud. He's not qualified. And he said, no. And he was very depressed. Oh, you should accept me, please. He kept approaching him again and again and again and again. That Mahatma told him, no, I have something else to do. He'd make excuses. And finally, he kept approaching him. Finally, the Mahatma said, okay, I'll accept you. But first, you have to do something for me. The man was very happy. Yes, what can I do? He said, I want you to find one creature, one person, who in all ways, who's in every way, who's actually lesser than you. And you have 1 week. And you bring me at least one creature, and if you can't do that, then I won't give you initiation. But you find one such creature, one such person who's lesser than you, then I'll give you initiation. Man thought, no problem, right? I've got a PhD. I come from a very aristocratic family, very wealthy family. It's not hard at all. He went out on the street, first person he saw, there he is. It's a bungie. The guy sweeps the street. Yeah, he's less. But wait a minute. He's born in Braj. And not only is he born in Braj, but he serves the dust of Braj. Actually, he's better than me in some ways. And then he saw a rickshawala. Yes. This person, he's serving low-class people and things. Definitely, he's lesser than me. But then he thought another moment, wait a minute. Although he's a rickshawala, he's very simple. And he's a Vaishnav from his life. He's a Brijbasi. He's been living in the Dham. Actually, he's better than me also. This might be harder than I thought. And so he spent the whole week examining, going all day long, looking for someone who's lesser than him, some creature, something, somewhere. He couldn't find anyone. And he was getting really depressed. And finally the morning came, his deadline was up, and that morning, it's a little disgusting to say, I'm sorry, but he was doing his business in the field. He was passing stool. And at that time, he saw a worm crawl into his stool. And he thought, yes, now I finally found one creature who's really disgusting, who's really less than me in all ways. But then he thought, wait a minute. Actually, the worm is also better than me in some ways, because I eat nice Krishna prasadam, and after I eat the nice Krishna prasadam, what happens to it? It becomes this disgusting thing. But the worm, he's better than me. He takes that disgusting thing that comes out of my body, and then he turns it into useful earth. He purifies it. The worm is actually better than me. So he went back to that saintly person. He said, Maharaj, I'm very sorry, but I failed. I couldn't find anyone who's more insignificant than myself. And at that time, that Maharaj became very pleased. He said, now I'll give you initiation. Now you really have some qualification. And for such a person who realizes their real position, who can face reality, they can experience the ecstasy of insignificance, the happiness of that. So we'll stop there. Are there any reflections from anybody? Any thoughts about this discussion? Interesting subject. We could look at it from many different perspectives. I'm sure some of you have some other thoughts about it. Prabhuji. Over here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for such a wonderful lecture. You mentioned about one statement of, I think, Saint Francis. He said that blessed is that servant who is not placed in a high position by his own desire and who wants to be under the feet of everyone. So I was wondering how this seems to be pretty much related with the mode of Trinadapi Sunichena. If you could elaborate more.
It's a very interesting thing, because you'll find in every religious practice all over the world, humility is appreciated. It's practically only in politics and in movie stars or whatever, in drama, that people appreciate the opposite. But even then, we appreciate someone who's a humble person, even they're a politician. It's an important quality. We should humble ourselves before God. And if someone wants to genuinely come to God, they have to be a humble person. The problem is that in this world, everyone else wants to become God, either directly or indirectly. And so the first step of our spiritual life is to realize how insignificant we are. And what an amazing thing it is. This is a path our acharyas have taught, our teachers have given, that this is a path to real happiness. To realize how insignificant that I am. Just the opposite of what most people think. Is that okay? Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the wonderful and very deep and very important topic indeed. My question is, you very rightly pointed out that we do a reality check and we be humble. Checking the reality. But the other side, like this thinking oneself insignificant in a wrong way, in the sense like it could be other side of the pride, that can lead to depression if it is not done in the right way. So would you please suggest what is the correct way or genuine, real way?
We can see there's different types of depression. We see that in Bhagavad Gita, we see that in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Arjuna was becoming depressed in the Bhagavad Gita in the first chapter for the wrong reasons, for bodily reasons. How can I fight? How can I serve Krishna according to his order? Because I'm going to have to fight against my own family members. I'm so attached to them. And it made him really, really depressed. That kind of material depression is based on keeping myself in the center and thinking myself the most important person. And it's based on self-pity. We're wallowing in self-pity. Oh, if my mother dies, my family dies, because we're thinking ourselves the center of everything. That's one kind of humility. That's one kind of depression. Another type of depression, another type of humility is when someone begins what my Guru Maharaj called Atma Krandana, or the crying of the soul. When we realize, I've got problems. This is like, it's a simple, obvious thing. If you have a terminal disease, you might be able to be healed from that. But the first thing is you have to recognize the fact I have a disease. If you don't recognize the fact I have a disease, how are you ever going to be healed? Why will you go to the hospital? So in a similar way, our spiritual life begins with understanding I have problems. I can't solve these problems. I don't know what the meaning of life is. I don't know how to solve these problems that I have. And there's a kind of lamentation, a kind of crying of the heart. It's a different kind of crying than the crying of someone who's just depressed and feeling sorry for themselves, self-pity. And there's a third type of crying, which is very, very elevated type of crying. And that we see in the lives of great saints. We see that in the case of the gopis of Braj and Srimati Radharani. And that's a kind of crying in ecstasy, where they also feel themselves very, very fallen and very, very low. But that's their topmost ecstasy. That's the madness of the saints. The saintly persons, they become mad in separation from God. And they feel, because I'm not with Him constantly, that there's something wrong with me. And we see that, for example, in, Saint Teresa? Was it Kolkata? Mother Teresa, after she passed away, some people found some of her writings and they were very shocked. They were so humble and so depressing. Oh my Lord, won't you see me? Why don't you see me? What's wrong with me? And it seemed like a very, very dark side. And people couldn't understand, but I thought this is very similar to the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the words of Mahaprabhu. He's crying, oh my Lord, I'm so insignificant, I'm so fallen. So like there's three different attitudes, and externally they may appear the same, but we should understand deeply what the difference is. Okay?
Thank you.
Prabhuji?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I'm trying to understand the relation between insignificance and being competitive for Krishna. So how do you...
And being what for Krishna?
Being competitive for Krishna.
Competitive.
Yes. How do you put these things together?
Well, our competition is not selfish. Our competition is based on the pleasure of Krishna. And that's an expression of my own feeling of insignificance. That I really want to please Krishna. I'm going to please Krishna the best by trying to do so much for Him. And I want to please my Gurudev. And we see that kind of competition even goes on in the spiritual world. Amongst the gopis of Braj, they're also competing. Who can bring more pleasure to Krishna? But it's not like competition in this world, where there's envy based in it and judgmental attitudes. Rather, this kind of competition is meant for the pleasure of Krishna. It's not for my pleasure. And in that case, there's no false ego. There's nothing for myself. And that means I'm feeling really insignificant. When I've achieved that real insignificance, understanding I just want to please Krishna, that's real competition. And people have competition on other levels, then sometimes it leads to unpleasant dealings and things. Okay? A good question. Akaranath Prabhu. So happy to see you, Prabhuji.
I'm very happy I was able to come and see you, even though I'm busy with getting ready for a trial, but I'm so happy to hear such a nice class.
I know you're going to have some amazing comments. I'm sure you have.
No, I'm insignificant, so my comments...
That's a great comment.
But I was very impressed with the conception that the realization of our insignificance is also an embrace of reality. And I was thinking that in chapter 13, when Krishna starts describing what knowledge is, he actually mentions these qualities like humility, pridelessness, tolerance, devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, accepting or approaching a bona fide spiritual master, that these aren't just means of getting knowledge, these are actually the qualities of knowledge. In chapter 4, he's saying that, sacrifice that's performed in transcendental knowledge is better than just a sacrifice of material possessions, and that you get that transcendental knowledge by approaching a bona fide spiritual master with an attitude of service and submission and ask relevant inquiries. And then when you get that knowledge, you'll never be an illusion anymore, because all living beings are in me and they're mine. They're part of me, they're in me and they're mine. So that's the reality, that we can see that every living being is part of Krishna and not different from Krishna, but we're the servant, and we're the servant of Krishna, therefore we're the servant of all other living beings. And that's actually the real position. That's knowledge. That's what makes your ordinary religious performances become transcendental devotional service, that they're performed in that knowledge of everything's relationship to Krishna.
Wow, thank you very much. Great comment. Prabhuji? I think amanitvam, adambidvam, ahimsa, shantarivacha, is that, that's chapter 13.
Yeah, it's 13, 8 through 12.
Mm-hmm.
So, Prabhuji, I have a question, and everyone takes a significant role, like, spiritual master, parent, teacher, king. So these are very significant roles, and there one has to find faults and, direct and all that. So how do we reconcile insignificance reality with these significant roles, and how do we remain in that consciousness? Can you please comment on that?
Very good. But there's always a problem in this world when we get some position and we become a maniac with the position, just because now I'm a parent and I can control this little person. And you must do what I say. Or now I am the boss. I've got 3 employees under me. I am Indra. When it goes to our head like that, then we become a despot. We become a very tyrannical kind of person. And nobody likes you. They don't like that kind of parent. They don't like that kind of business leader. But when we accept a role as a servant, my guru has given me this position to do. Krishna has given me this position to do. And people have asked me to do this. Therefore, let me do it as a servant. As a parent, we have an obligation to chastise our children and correct them. And if we do that, if the child says, well, why are you saying that? Because I'm your dad, that's why. If that's our response, that's our mentality, then the child's not going to come to respect us. And although it may work when he's a lot smaller than us, when he becomes bigger, he's going to rebel. And he's going to go away. But when we have the attitude, we genuinely love that child. And they can feel that I really care about you. And I'm chastising you, I'm angry with you. But this anger is actually an expression of my love for you, is an expression of my concern for you. And similarly, in the role of guru, the role of older brother, and the role of business leader or political leader or whatever, if people feel that they really care about me, how often do we find that today, though? Especially in politics, we don't feel like politicians care for us whatsoever. But when we can genuinely feel that in someone, then we have great faith in that person, and then society becomes strong. That person's a good leader. But when we don't have those kind of qualities and we're just trying to get some cheap prestige and trying to exercise some control over people for our satisfaction, then it creates chaos. And everybody, they lose faith in the parents, they lose faith in the teachers in school, they lose faith in the politicians and the managers. It's a very destructive thing. Thank you. Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for your wonderful class. I have a question about you said Lord Brahma captured the Gopabalas and after that he fallen down to Harnadas Tagore, something like that. So actually this story happened like 5,000 years back, and this Harnadas Tagore, Lord Chaitanya, this movement is 500 years back. And comparatively, the Lord Brahma's entire lifespan is in one day so many yugas are going to happen, so many millions of years. So how can we relate that point?
Are you trying to understand it mathematically in terms of time, you're saying?
Like how Harnadas Thakur, Lord Brahma has become Harnadas Thakur that time. Like it's very
by a
limited
calculation of time?
Yeah.
It becomes very confusing if we try to understand it by calculation of time. And it's interesting to me that throughout the Vedic literatures, we don't see the conception of time. We're not given everything in a chronological way. Sometimes even the Bhagavatam doesn't give everything in a chronological way. Jiva Goswami mentions this, and Gopal Champu and Vishwanath also in his commentary in the Bhagavatam. And it's also not always given in a geographical way. I don't know, it's a little hard to describe here. But when we talk about the Holy Dham, it's not just that we're speaking about this piece of land alone in a material calculation like that. But we understand that Holy Dham can appear here in San Jose. We want to go to Vrindavan, we want to go to Jagannath Puri, we want to go to Dwarka and Rameshwaram. But that Holy Dham has also appeared here, wherever the chanting of the holy names goes on. So it's not just a geographical concern. So the Vedic literatures teach us, try to see outside of this linear understanding of time and geography. And as far as a particular answer for that, it's not just that Lord Brahma immediately, when Krishna said, when he asked that prayer of Krishna, please let me take birth in a lower family, and then Krishna said, okay, Shazam, and Lord Brahma disappeared and he became Haridas Thakur. It may have taken so long. It may have been some period later. Something. It may have been so much time. So that's all I could think for that. Anything else from anybody?
I was just wondering, if the title of the talk was changed to the significance of insignificance, would this dilute this? I'm just wondering, because ecstasy is a word we use so commonly within ISKCON, so everything is ecstatic.
Yeah, it's ecstatic, Prabhu.
So I was just...
Yeah, we use this word very commonly. Prabhu, it's just the weather's ecstatic. And my wife is ecstatic, the kids are ecstatic, and school is ecstatic, and work is everything is ecstatic. And it becomes a real cheap kind of thing. But we're not speaking about that. Prabhupada, he says in Nectar Devotion that one can't taste the sweet happiness of bhakti unless they give up this attempt to try to enjoy and try to be a big person in the material world, either through material or spiritual means. So we're speaking about spiritual ecstasy. We're speaking about happiness of the soul, not just some ISKCON phrase. Okay? Prabhuji, again.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the significant topic on the ecstasy of being insignificant, which is very significant. So on this journey, because that's like a, it's like a 32,000 feet high. Actually, it's really very high position to be ecstatic in insignificance. But at least for myself, I can say it's like 32,000 feet high. So what are some of the milestones of the progress? How can one recognize that, okay, I'm not there, but I'm making some progress.
The first thing that we can do in our progress is the same answer I gave you before, I think, too, is that we can recognize I have a sickness. Amita Adam, I'm fallen. That's the first thing. But how many people can say that? How many people can actually really truly feel, I've done something wrong. I've hurt my wife. I've hurt my children. I've hurt my friends. I've hurt people in this world. I've done bad things. I'm a bad person. I'm a fallen person. How many of us can actually face that? It's not a small thing. So that's the first beginning of our advancement. And then when we begin to cry and cry out our heart, and we can come to Krishna, and we can come before the saintly persons and admit our crimes, the bad things that we've done. And we can understand we're making further advancement when our vision of ourself is not some ethereal fantasy that I'm the most advanced devotee. I wanted to be the most important person and the biggest corporate person or the wealthiest person, the biggest politician, this, that. And then I joined the movement and I want to be the greatest devotee. And I think I am. But when I can understand that actually I have problems. Rupa Goswami speaks about this in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And he says there's three things which help us to understand reality. He doesn't exactly put it in that way, but he says, dukkha, trasa, aparada, jaya, anurajitam, tadinata. These three things are dukh, trasa, and aparada, jaya. Or first, unhappiness. When I can embrace that and understand that I'm unhappy. We can't even admit that. If somebody comes to us and says, you know, you're really unhappy, we become angry. Don't tell me that. Huh? Well, you're trying to criticize me. I'm happy. I'm doing good. Huh? It's all right. Huh? Dukh, we should understand and admit that I'm unhappy. Tras means fear. I'm afraid. I'm afraid what's going to happen to me. I'm afraid of taking birth again. And aparada adhyaya means the conception that I've committed so many offenses, I've done so many bad things. Anurajitam tadinata. These three things give birth to humility. So when we can acknowledge those things, that means we're making some advancement. When we can go and we can speak these things to Sadhu Guru, not just to everybody, but to Sadhu Guru, and we can speak out our heart and admit, I've done these terrible things, I'm such a bad person. We can confess that. And that's also there in the Christian tradition. When we confess that, then there's some happiness. Oh, we feel a lot lighter then. And then we can begin to cry. So I would say that's the beginning stages. And there's so many things after that. But let's first think about the beginning. Okay? Anything else is there? We're a little bit over time. I don't know what your program is right now, but I know what we used to say at our Sunday Feast programs in Boulder, Colorado, when I used to be there. Now for the part of our philosophy that's the easiest to digest, prasadam. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveda Bhaktavinda ki, Go Premanandi, Vancha Kalpatarubhischa, Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
His Grace Madhavananda Prabhu ki. Everyone please give a loud applause for the wonderful lecture.